Inara sat quietly in her research chair, her long silver fingers tapping nervously against the glowing console. The Valyri research vessel Lunari floated smoothly through the silent space between two nebula clusters. To an outsider, everything inside the ship looked peaceful and calm. But Inara's mind was far from calm. She had been uneasy since they entered this region of space. It was too close to human territory, and she knew it. Inara was young by Valyri standards, only 30 cycles, but she was already one of the most talented mineral researchers on the ship. Her gift was observation. She saw small details that others overlooked. She could notice patterns in data streams that seemed random to everyone else. But for all her sharp senses, she carried one heavy weakness. She had grown up fearing humans. Her people, the Valyri, were peaceful scientists. They avoided conflict, avoided danger, avoided anything unpredictable. Humans, she had been told, were unpredictable. Some stories said humans were brave, others said they were reckless. Some stories described humans helping weaker species. Other stories claimed humans caused trouble wherever they traveled. The stories were confusing, but one message stayed strong in Valyri culture: avoid humans when possible. So Inara sat there, tense, her blue eyes scanning the console again and again. Her leader, Captain Storym, stepped into the room. He was calm as always, his white and gray robes floating lightly with each movement. "Inara," he said, "your data request came in earlier. Are you still worried?" She turned in her seat. "Captain, yes. I know the nebula is rich in rare crystals, but we are too close to human space. What if they notice our scans?" Storym smiled, a gentle expression meant to reassure her. "Humans are busy with their own colonies. We will only be here for a short time. Our mission is peaceful. There is no danger." His calmness eased some of her tension, but not all. "If you say so, Captain." Storym nodded and left to join the others on the observation deck. The Lunari continued drifting toward the tall mineral towers forming naturally inside the nebula. These towers rose like giant glowing spires, each one holding unique energy crystals. The Valyri wanted to study them, understand them, and use the knowledge to improve clean energy back home. Inara opened a new scan. The screen shimmered with soft white light. Temperature normal, energy levels stable. Radiation patterns. Then something unexpected flashed on the lower corner of her screen. A signal, a faint one. Not Valyri, not natural, not nebula distortion. Human. Her heart tightened. She immediately stood up. "Captain Storym," she called across the room. The captain returned within seconds. "What is it?" Inara pointed at the screen. "A human signal. Weak but present. It is not far from our position." Storym's calm expression finally changed. He leaned closer to the screen. "Is it a distress signal?" "It looks more like an automated beacon," she said. "Maybe from a patrol craft." More crew members gathered around her station. Whispers filled the room, quiet, worried, tense. Researcher Leo stepped forward. "We should leave at once," he said. "Humans must not find us." Inara nodded silently. She agreed. Every story she grew up with told her to avoid contact. Captain Storym lifted his hand for silence. "Everyone, remain calm. We do not know if the signal is active. It could be years old. We will move slowly away from its direction." He issued a gentle course adjustment, but before the change fully engaged, the ship began to shake. The lights flickered. The consoles flashed red. The room filled with sharp beeping alarms. Inara grabbed the console edge. "Captain! We are caught in an electromagnetic surge!" Another crew member shouted from across the room. "The nebula is unstable. The towers are reacting to our scans." The ship lurched again. A hollow echo rang through the hull. Captain Storym pressed the main control panel. "Stabilizers now!" "Stabilizers are failing," came the response. The ship began drifting deeper into the nebula's glowing fog. The mineral towers, once beautiful, now pulsed with unpredictable energy. Inara tried to reroute power. Her hands moved quickly, her mind racing. "The surge is interfering with our engines," she said. "We cannot escape unless we realign the primary power core." Leo looked at her with fear in his eyes. "We cannot fix that in time. We need help." But no one wanted to say the dangerous part out loud. The only help nearby might be human. The captain tried every maneuver he could, but the ship trembled again, a terrible groaning sound coming from deep inside the hull. Then suddenly, through the static of the sensors, something appeared on the screen. A ship, small but fast, approaching. A shape no Valyri could mistake. Human vessel. The room fell silent. Inara felt her entire body tense. Her breath hitched. Her heart pounded hard enough to hurt. She stared at the approaching human craft with wide, fearful eyes. Solarin whispered, almost in disbelief, "It seems humans did notice us after all." The human ship slowed as it neared the nebula. Its lights flashed in measured patterns. Its scanners reached out with careful precision. Inara stepped back from her console. "They are coming this way." Her voice shook. Researcher Leo grabbed her shoulder. "We must shut down all signals. We must hide." Captain Solarin raised a hand. "Enough. We cannot hide. Our ship is damaged. We cannot leave. And we cannot pretend everything is normal." He opened the communication channel, only for listening, not speaking. A calm, human voice came through the speakers. "This is Captain Elias Ward of the Starbound Patrol. We detected a ship in distress. Identify yourselves if possible. We mean no harm." The Valyri crew froze as if the air had turned solid. Inara whispered, "His voice. It does not sound dangerous." Solarin looked at her. Humans are difficult to judge, but his tone is respectful. The human captain spoke again. "Your ship is caught in an unstable field. We can assist. Please respond if you can." Inara's mind spun. All her life she feared humans. All her stories told her they were unpredictable, too bold, too strong, too confident, too unrestrained. Yet the voice reaching them now was steady, controlled, calm, not a threat. Solarin turned to Inara. "You understand their communication structure better than anyone here. Should we respond?" Her throat felt dry. I do not know." "If we stay silent, they may leave. But if they leave, we may not survive the next surge." Another violent shake rocked the ship. Panels fell from the ceiling. Lights flickered again. The engines howled. Solarin looked into her eyes. "Inara, you must decide." She inhaled slowly, deeply. Her hands trembled, but she reached toward the console anyway. Fear squeezed her heart, but she pushed past it, just enough to press the communication button. Her voice was shaky but clear. "This is the Valyri research vessel. We hear you." Silence followed. The entire crew held their breath. Then the human responded. Warmer this time, almost relieved. "Good. We will guide you through stabilizing your engines. Follow my instructions. You are not alone." Inara looked at the screen showing the small human ship. For the first time in her life, she felt not fear, but confusion mixed with curiosity. Why would a human risk entering a dangerous nebula to help unknown aliens? As the first wave of guidance arrived through the comm channel, she listened carefully, her fear slowly mixing with something she never expected to feel. Hope. The unknown might still be frightening, but maybe it was not always dangerous. And maybe, just maybe, humans were not who she thought they were. The human voice coming through the speakers was calm and steady, like someone guiding a friend through a storm. Inara listened closely as Captain Elias Ward spoke with clear instructions. "Your stabilizers are misaligned," he said. You need to reduce internal pressure before the next surge hits. I will send you a repair sequence. Follow step by step." Inara swallowed nervously. She had never spoken to a human before. She had never even heard one speak, except through old recordings used for cultural study. But this man's tone was nothing like the frightening stories she grew up with. His voice was controlled, patient, and strangely reassuring. Storym nodded at her. "Follow him. He seems to understand the situation better than we do." Inara placed her shaking fingers over the console. She followed the human instructions carefully. Reduce core pressure, increase cooling flow, reroute energy lines. Each command felt like walking across thin glass, but she kept going. Leo hovered behind her. "Are we certain he is not tricking us?" he whispered. Inara did not look away from the screen. "If he wishes to harm us, he would not need tricks. Our ship is already trapped." Storym added softly, "Let us trust for now. We have little choice." The Lunari hummed as the changes took effect. Some lights stabilized. The shaking reduced a little. It wasn't a perfect fix, but it stopped the ship from falling apart. The human captain spoke again. "Good. You followed step 1. That buys us time. Now I'm sending a map of the energy waves forming inside the nebula. You are in the center of the worst region. I'm moving closer to pull you to a safer distance." Inara's breath caught. "Move closer?" Humans were bold, but she didn't think they were foolish. Approaching the nebula was dangerous. The mineral towers reacted to any ship too near them, creating unpredictable energy fields. She activated the external camera feed. A small human patrol craft appeared through the glowing fog. Its hull was dark gray with white lights blinking in slow, careful rhythm. Its engines dimmed and brightened like a steady heartbeat. The ship hovered with remarkable control, adjusting angle and position constantly to avoid drifting beams of unstable energy. Inara whispered, almost to herself, "He is risking his ship for us." Leo responded, uneasy but amazed, "Humans do such things. They call it bravery." Inara wasn't sure if bravery or something else drove this human captain, but the action left a quiet warmth in her chest. Captain Elias Ward continued speaking. "Valerie vessel, prepare to connect to our stabilizing link. It won't tow you, but will prevent the worst surges from hitting you directly." Inara looked at Storym. "Should I accept?" Storym nodded without hesitation. "Yes." Inara activated the connection. A soft chime sounded. The human ship system fused gently with theirs, linking energy stabilizers. A wave of calm spread through the Lunari as the wild shaking slowed. The crew released a collective breath. Inara said softly, "Connection complete." Elias responded, "Good. I will hold you steady. You should begin core realignment now. Send me your internal structure layout, and I will guide you." Storym gave a small nod. "Share the layout." Inara transferred the ship's blueprint. A moment later, Elias spoke again. "All right, your power core is twisting from the pressure. If it shifts too far, the ship will overload. I'll direct your team. But first, I need to speak to whoever is managing your engine systems." Storym turned to Inara. "That would be you." Her breath stopped. "Me? Speak to him directly?" "You understand engines best," Storym said. "You also understand human communication patterns." Inara hesitated. Her entire life she feared humans. Now she had to speak to one. Her hands felt cold. Her voice trembled slightly, but she pressed the communication button. "This is Inara of the Valerie," she said. "I am the ship's mineral researcher. I also monitor engine patterns." There was a short pause. Then Elias spoke gently. "Inara, good to meet you. You're doing well so far." His voice was warm, not commanding. It made her feel safe. She had not expected that feeling from a human. He continued, Now, look at the power core monitor. Do you see the shift pattern? Inara scanned the data. Yes, it is unstable. Right. I need you to increase the left stabilizer output, but only by 20%. Any more will damage your system. Inara quickly typed the command. Done. The human captain watched her readings remotely. Good. Now activate the lower cooling circuit. Running it now. Lights on the console shifted from red to yellow. The shaking reduced further. The ship steadied slightly. Leo exhaled. It is working. Elias spoke again. Your core is still stressed. I want you to cut power to your outer scanning system. Inara froze. Cutting the scanning system meant they would be blind in the nebula, but she trusted his judgment. Understood, she said softly. She powered down the scanner. The ship dimmed, but the engine readings improved. Perfect, Elias said. We're getting there. Another rumble shook the ship, but it was softer this time. The crew slowly began believing they might survive. But danger was not over. Minutes passed. Elias continued guiding them. His tone was steady, never rushed, never angry. Inara found herself listening more intently with each instruction. The nebula storm outside grew stronger, yet she felt less afraid. The human's calm voice anchored her like a guiding light. But then, something unexpected happened. A loud alarm blared from the far wall. Researcher Leo rushed to check it. Captain, we are receiving a message from a Valeri Science Council beacon. They detected our unstable readings. They are ordering us to leave the region at once. Storym frowned. Leave? We cannot leave until the ship is stable. Leo looked between the captain and the screen. The Council believes this region is too dangerous. They fear the humans may cause trouble. They want us to exit immediately, even if the exit is risky. Inara's heart tightened. She knew the Council rarely trusted humans. They believed humans created chaos. They believed humans provoked trouble. If the Council realized a human was helping them now, they might force the Lunari to cut communication. They might refuse the rescue. They might even choose danger over human assistance. Storym turned off the beacon. We will reply later. Survival first. Inara nodded gratefully. She returned to the console. Elias continued calmly, unaware of the message. Inara, you're doing great. But the next part is difficult. You must enter the manual control panel near the power core. It will require someone physically walking there. Storym looked at the crew. Who can go? Inara stood immediately. I will. Leo grabbed her arm. It is too dangerous. The core chamber is unstable. You could get injured. Inara pulled her arm away. I must go. I know the controls best, and he is guiding us. I can do this. Storym nodded. Go. We trust you. Inara hurried through the ship's corridor. Lights flickered overhead. The hum of the core grew louder as she approached the chamber. She opened the door, stepping into the warm, slightly trembling room. She activated her wrist communicator. Captain Elias, I am in the core room. Elias answered immediately. Good, Inara. I can see your readings. Do you see the 3 blue levers on the main panel? Yes. Pull the center one halfway down, slowly. Inara reached out. The panel vibrated from the unstable energy. She held her breath and pulled the lever carefully. The hum changed, becoming smoother. Good, Elias said. Now activate the stabilizing clamp on the right. She pressed the clamp. The readings shifted again, improving. You're doing great, Elias encouraged. Just one more step. Reconnect the secondary coolant pipe. Inara moved to the pipe. It was slightly loose, shaking with each tremor. She grabbed both sides and pushed them together until they clicked. Immediately, the entire ship vibrated, but then, slowly, steadied. Lights stabilized. Walls stopped shaking. The ship's engine hum became smooth and strong. Elias let out a soft breath through the speaker. There. Your core is stable. You're safe for now. Inara stood still, breathing hard, feeling both tired and relieved. "Thank you, Captain Elias." "We're not finished yet," he replied. "But you did well. Very well." Her heart warmed at his words. "Return to the control room," he said. "We will plan the final escape." Inara hurried back, feeling lighter than before. When she entered the control room, the crew greeted her with relieved smiles. Storym placed a hand on her shoulder. "You were brave." She shook her head softly. "I just trusted." Leo looked at the screen where the human ship floated. "He saved us this far. Maybe humans are not what we believed." Inara said nothing, but inside she felt something new, something soft and hopeful. Elias spoke again. "Valyri vessel, prepare for the next sequence. I will pull you toward a safer zone." She returned to her seat. Her hands no longer trembled as much. The unknown still frightened her. But the human guiding them was no longer part of that fear. He was the light cutting through it. The Lunari drifted slowly through the glowing nebula, held steady by the human patrol ship's stabilizing link. The worst shaking had passed. But the danger was not completely gone. The mineral towers still pulsed with bright, unpredictable waves, and the nebula wind pushed against both vessels like a restless ocean. Inara sat at her console, monitoring the new readings. The lines were smoother. The engine's temperature stayed in a safe range. For the first time since the crisis began, she felt her heart relax, just a little. Captain Elias Ward's voice came through the communication channel again, steady as ever. "Valyri vessel, the energy waves are moving toward your rear engines. I will adjust my position to shield you from the next surge. Maintain current speed." Storym answered calmly. "Understood, Captain." Inara watched the human ship shift in the glowing fog. Even though it was smaller than the Lunari, it moved with remarkable precision. Every adjustment was careful and controlled. She could tell the human captain was completely focused on keeping them safe, but not everyone on the Valyri ship felt the same confidence. Across the room, senior researcher Raelon stood with a deep frown. His tall frame was stiff, his pale eyes narrowed. Raelon was older than Inara, respected for his knowledge, but known for strict beliefs. He had long argued that humans were too unpredictable to trust. He stepped closer to Storym. "Captain, this has gone too far." Storym looked at him. "What do you mean?" "We should not allow humans to interfere with our systems," Raelon said. "The Council warned us. They told us to leave. Yet we remain. This Captain Elias is pushing us deeper into dependence." Inara turned sharply toward him. "He saved our ship. He guided us step by step." Raelon's expression hardened. "Perhaps. Or perhaps he wishes to learn our weaknesses. Perhaps he intends to bring more humans once he knows our ship is fragile." "That is not true," Inara said quickly. Her voice trembled not from fear but frustration. "He risked his vessel to keep us safe." Raelon shook his head. "Humans risk things because they enjoy danger. It is not kindness. It is their nature." Storym raised a hand. "Raelon, enough. We cannot leave until the ship is fully stable, and the human captain has shown us nothing but respect." Raelon's jaw tightened, but he lowered his head slightly. "As you say, Captain." But Inara could tell by the look in his eyes. He was not convinced, and he was not finished. Minutes passed as both ships moved carefully through the shifting nebula. The Lunari's systems continued to improve. Even the crew's nervous whispers quieted slowly. Elias spoke again. "Your engines are almost clear of the worst field. When I say so, increase power by 10%. It will pull you away from the unstable region." Inara checked the readings. "Captain Storym, his calculations are correct. We are close." Storym nodded. We will follow. But before the command reached the engine room, a sudden warning flashed on Inara's screen. "Captain!" she shouted. "One of the stabilizers just failed!" The entire ship trembled sharply. The link between the Lunari and the human ship flickered. Storym turned. "What happened?" Inara quickly ran diagnostics. "The stabilizer was manually disconnected." Her voice trailed off. The logs were clear. Someone inside the ship had done it. Rylan stepped forward calmly. Too calmly. "That stabilizer relied on human calculations," he said. "I disconnected it to protect us." Inara stared at him in disbelief. "Protect us? You nearly tore the ship apart!" Rylan met her gaze without fear. "I did what was necessary. Our people do not need human help. We must rely on ourselves." Storym confronted him. "The ship is still unstable. Your action has put us all in danger." Rylan's voice rose, frustration boiling over. "I acted because you refused to. You let a human guide us as if we are helpless children." Inara stepped closer. "Humans are not our enemy, Rylan. Why can you not see that?" "Because I know them," Rylan snapped. "I studied their history, their wars, their conflicts, their wild emotions. They are reckless, unpredictable. They act without thinking. If we depend on them today, we may regret it for generations." Inara's heart pounded. She had feared humans once, too. But that fear had changed. And this crisis proved it. "Humans are not perfect," she said quietly. "But they came to help, not harm." But Rylan refused to listen. Meanwhile, the ship trembled again, this time harder. Elias's voice came through the speaker, urgent but still controlled. "Valerie vessel, your stabilizers are dropping. What happened?" Inara pressed the comm quickly. I am sorry, Captain. One of our team members disconnected a stabilizer. I am working to fix it." There was a short pause. Then Elias replied simply, "Tell me what you need." Those 4 words carried no anger, no frustration, only support. And the simplicity of it hit Inara deeply. For a moment, she closed her eyes. She took a breath. She felt steady again. She turned back to the console. "Rylan, step aside. We need to reconnect the stabilizer." But Rylan blocked her path. "I will not allow humans to tell us what to do. We must leave this region now. The Council ordered it." Storym stepped between them. "Rylan, stand down." Rylan shook his head slowly. "No, I cannot. If you will not protect our people, then I must." And then, before anyone could stop him, he reached for another system panel and started overriding the stabilizer network. Inara cried out, "Stop! You will overload the ship." Storym grabbed Rylan's wrist. "Enough!" But Rylan pulled away. "I am saving us." Inara knew what must be done. She ran to the emergency console and quickly initiated a force lock on the stabilizer lines. Rylan tried to stop her, but Storym held him back long enough for her to finish. The room flashed with a soft blue light. The stabilizer system locked into safety mode. Rylan glared at her with fierce disappointment. "You trust humans more than your own people." Inara did not look away. "I trust the one who is trying to save lives, not the one risking them." The tension in the room grew heavy. Even the steady hum of the engines felt quieter. Storym ordered the guards, "Escort Rylan to the lower chamber. He must not interfere again." 2 crew members pulled Rylan away. He did not fight back. He simply looked at Inara with cold frustration. "You have made a mistake," he said softly. "One day you will see." But Inara's heart felt firm. Maybe. But not today. The stabilizer system slowly recovered under her quick repairs. Inara reconnected the link with the human vessel. "Captain Elias," she said, breathing harder than she wanted to admit. "The problem is fixed. You can adjust position again." Elias responded gently. "Thank you, Inara. I'm moving into place now." His calm voice washed over her like warm light. The Lunari steadied again. The shaking faded, and for a moment the entire crew breathed in silence. Storym approached Anara. "You showed great courage." She shook her head. "I only did what was right." Storym smiled. "That is the definition of courage." Anara turned back to her console. On the screen, the human ship glowed softly in the fog, holding them steady like a protective guardian. For the first time, she realized something important. She had once believed humans were dangerous. But today, the greatest danger had come from her own people, and the one protecting them was human. Morning light touched the trees outside the small camp where Arya and Ethan had spent the night. The fire had burned down to glowing embers, and a soft mist covered the forest floor. Birds sang somewhere far away, and the world felt peaceful for a moment, so peaceful that Arya almost forgot she was supposed to fear humans. Ethan was already awake. He sat a short distance away, cleaning the small metal device she had seen him use before. He looked tired, but focused. His eyes showed a calm that did not match the danger surrounding them. Arya watched him silently. She could not understand him. He did not act like the stories from her home. According to her people, humans were reckless, loud, selfish, and unpredictable. They were supposed to be dangerous creatures who caused chaos wherever they went. Yet Ethan had shown none of that. Instead, he had been protective, patient, and strangely kind. It confused her more than anything. She stepped out of the shelter and approached him. Ethan looked up when he heard her footsteps, then gave a small smile that told her he wasn't afraid. "Good morning," he said softly. Arya didn't know the exact words, but she understood his tone. Friendly. Calm. She nodded. Ethan pointed toward the forest and made a gesture that looked like drinking. She realized he meant water. He wanted her to follow him. She hesitated, but after a moment she nodded again. Together they walked deeper into the trees, moving carefully between thick roots and glowing plants. Arya kept glancing at him, trying to understand the strange way he carried himself. He walked softly, placing each step with purpose. His eyes scanned the forest as if he could sense danger before it appeared. He looked like someone used to surviving in wild places. A question formed in her mind. Why would a human know so much about her people's territory? They reached a small spring. Clear water ran over stones, making a soft sound that echoed through the quiet forest. Ethan filled a container and handed it to her first, like he wanted to make sure she was all right. She took a sip. It was cool and refreshing, and for a moment she closed her eyes, enjoying the simple comfort. When she opened them again, Ethan was watching her with a curious expression. He pointed to himself. "Ethan." Arya blinked, realizing he was telling her his name. He waited. She pointed to her own chest. "Arya." His smile widened slightly, making his eyes warm. He repeated her name carefully, as if he didn't want to say it wrong. "Arya." She felt something strange in her chest, not fear, not confusion, something softer. Before she could think more about it, Ethan suddenly stiffened. His hand shot up in a warning gesture. Arya froze. She listened. For a moment, she heard nothing except the sound of water, until it came again. A soft vibration through the ground. A humming sound she knew too well. Her people were near. Her breath caught. Ethan moved closer, keeping low. His voice dropped to a whisper she still didn't understand, but his tone made one thing clear. Danger. Arya felt panic rise inside her. Ethan glanced at her, noticing her fear. Then, surprisingly, he placed a hand on her shoulder. Lightly. Gently. The touch was soft, not forceful. He wasn't pulling her, only telling her she wasn't alone. She didn't step back. Another vibration passed through the earth, stronger this time. Arya knew the rhythm. A scouting drone. It flew in straight lines, scanning for unusual signs. If it found a life form, it would alert the nearest patrol. "We have to hide," she whispered in her own language. She grabbed Ethan's wrist and pulled him toward the rocks near the spring. The space was narrow, just enough for 2 people if they pressed close. Ethan understood quickly and followed. They squeezed into the shadow of the stone wall, pressed tightly together. Arya could feel the heat of his body, hear his slow breathing. Her own heart was beating too fast. The drone's humming grew louder and louder until it hovered right above the water. A bright beam scanned the area, passing over the spring, the trees, the ground near their feet. Arya held her breath. Ethan stayed completely still. Even though he didn't know what her people's machines were capable of, he sensed the danger perfectly. The beam of light inched closer. Arya closed her eyes. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3. And then the drone drifted away. The humming grew softer, then disappeared completely into the sky. Arya let out a long breath, her shoulders relaxing as the danger passed. Ethan looked at her with a questioning expression, as if asking whether they were safe. She nodded weakly. Only then did she realize how close they still were. She stepped back quickly, her cheeks warming. Ethan didn't seem bothered. He only checked the forest again and motioned for them to move away from the spring. Staying there was not safe anymore. They walked back toward the camp in silence. Arya's mind was full of thoughts that tangled together like vines. Her people were searching for her. Ethan had helped her hide from them. Why? Why would a human protect someone who did not belong to his world? Back at the camp, Ethan packed their things quickly. His movements were efficient, but tense. Even without speaking the same language, Arya could see the worry on his face. He was trying to keep both of them safe. She stepped beside him. "My people are close," she said quietly. "They will not stop." Ethan paused, meeting her eyes. He didn't understand the words, but he understood her tone. He nodded slowly. She tried again, gesturing toward the forest. "They search for me," she explained, "and also for you now." He raised a brow. His face showed confusion, but not fear. "No," she shook her head, correcting herself. She pointed at him, then tapped her own chest. "Both." His expression shifted. She saw understanding grow in his eyes. They were both targets now. Ethan's jaw tightened slightly, but he didn't panic. Instead, he took out a small device from his bag, a map projector. When he activated it, a hologram appeared above the ground, showing terrain lines and glowing markers. Arya stared at the human technology. It was different from hers, simpler in design, but surprisingly efficient. Ethan pointed to their location on the map, then traced a path through the forest toward distant mountains. Arya frowned. "That area is restricted," she said. "My people don't go there often," which meant it might be the safest place. She felt a mix of uncertainty and curiosity. Her people avoided the mountains because the land was unstable and filled with natural hazards, but humans were known for adapting quickly, even in dangerous places. Maybe Ethan knew something she didn't. He gave her a questioning look, waiting for her opinion. Arya hesitated before finally nodding. They would go together. As they prepared to leave, a sudden thought struck her. She was choosing to run with a human instead of returning to her own people. Her heart felt heavy, but also strangely light. They started their journey, moving cautiously through the forest. Ethan stayed in front, guiding their path with surprising knowledge. Arya followed close behind, constantly checking the sky for drones. Hours passed as they traveled through shadows and sunlight, crossing streams and climbing small ridges. The forest changed gradually. The trees grew taller, the ground steeper, the air colder. Arya noticed something else, too. Ethan kept slowing down for her, even when she didn't ask. even when she pretended she wasn't tired. He watched her carefully, making sure she could keep pace. No one from her own people had ever done that for her. At one point, while crossing a rocky slope, her foot slipped. Before she could fall, Ethan caught her arm firmly and pulled her back to safety. Arya stared at him, breathless. "Thank you," she whispered. He smiled softly and nodded as if saving her was the most natural thing in the world. As they continued, Arya replayed the moment again and again in her mind. With every hour that passed, her fear of humans cracked a little more, piece by piece. But her worry about her people grew. What would they do if they found her with a human? What would they think? And what would Ethan think if he learned the full truth about why her own people wanted to capture her? She wasn't sure. When the sun began to set, the land ahead turned dark purple under the shadows of the mountains. A cold wind blew down from the peaks, carrying a strange metallic scent. Arya shivered. Ethan stopped and looked at her with concern. He handed her a thermal cloth from his pack, wrapping it gently around her shoulders. She felt warmth spread through her immediately. She looked up at him. "How can you be like this?" she whispered, even though he could not understand. "How can a human care this much?" He gave her a reassuring nod, unaware of the question she had asked. They continued again, drawing closer to the mountains, closer to the place where everything would change. And somewhere behind them, deep in the forest, a patrol discovered fresh footprints. 2 sets, 1 alien, 1 human. The hunt was no longer a search. It was a pursuit. The mountains rose like giants before Arya and Ethan, their dark peaks cutting the sky into sharp shapes. Cold wind blew from the rocky cliffs, carrying dust and distant echoes. The forest behind them felt far away now, and the air grew thin as they climbed higher. Arya wrapped the thermal cloth tighter around her shoulders. Ethan kept checking the map device, making sure they stayed on the safest path. They were tired, but neither of them wanted to stop yet. They both knew time was running out. Her people were close. She could feel it, not because of sound or sight, but because she knew how they thought. She understood the way her people tracked signs, broken twigs, footprints, energy traces. She knew they would follow every clue until they found her. Ethan walked beside her, careful but steady. Even though he did not know her people's tactics, he understood danger very well. His eyes scanned the rocks above and the shadows below. He moved with a quiet confidence she had grown used to. But today, she sensed something else in him, something heavier. He knew something was coming, and so did she. They reached a narrow cliff path that wrapped around the mountainside. Below the cliff was a long drop into mist and sharp stone. The wind pushed against them, making the path even more dangerous. Ethan looked at her with concern before stepping onto the narrow ledge. Arya followed closely, her heart pounding. Halfway across, she heard it. A distant humming, soft at first, then louder. Her people's scout craft. Arya's breath caught. Ethan heard it too. He turned and met her gaze. No words were needed. They had found them. He grabbed her hand quickly, not in fear but in determination. Together they hurried across the path and reached a wider area of rock. But before they could run farther, a bright light flashed above them. A small craft descended, hovering just above the ground. Its smooth silver surface reflected the mountains around it. A symbol glowed on the side, her people's symbol. Arya stepped back instinctively. The craft's door opened, and 3 figures stepped out. Their tall shapes and glowing eyes made the air feel colder. They looked at Arya first, then at Ethan. The leader stepped forward. "Arya," he said in her language, voice steady and controlled. "Come with us, now." Ethan didn't understand the words, but he saw the tension. He moved slightly in front of her, his stance protective. The leader's eyes narrowed. You stand with a human? He asked her sharply. After what they have done? Arya shook her head. He saved me, she said firmly. The leader glanced at Ethan again. Saved you? Or captured you? Humans manipulate. They cannot be trusted. She took a deep breath and stepped forward. No, she said. You are wrong. The leader's voice grew harsher. Arya, your return is required. You left without permission. You broke rules that keep our people safe. Arya's hands tightened. I left because the rules were wrong, she answered. I left because I needed to see things myself. One of the guards raised a scanner. Its light passed over Ethan's body. Arya's heart pounded. Human, the guard said. Low danger level, not armed. Ethan held up his hands peacefully, hoping to show he didn't want conflict. But the leader stepped closer to Arya. You will return with us, he said again. If you refuse, it will bring consequences. Arya shook her head slowly. I will not leave him, she whispered. The leader's expression hardened. Then he becomes part of the problem. Arya's heart dropped. No, she said quickly. He is innocent. Her voice broke slightly. He is the reason I am alive. For a moment, the leader hesitated, not because he believed her, but because her courage was unexpected. Ethan looked at Arya, confused but calm. He didn't know what they were saying, but he knew she was standing up for him, and he stood up straighter beside her. The leader lifted a small device, and for a moment, Arya feared the worst. But instead of a weapon, a hologram appeared, a map showing Arya's home territory. Your disappearance has caused unrest, he said. Many fear that the humans captured you. Some believe the humans plan an attack. Your presence here with him will confirm their fears. Arya's breath caught. So, they think I was taken, she whispered. Yes, the leader said, and that fear spreads fast. Arya looked at Ethan. He offered her a steady gaze full of quiet determination. He didn't need to speak for her to understand what he was thinking. He believed she should choose freely. She turned back to the leader. Then take me home, she said. But Ethan comes with me. He will show them that humans are not what we believed. The leader's eyes widened in disbelief. You want to bring a human into our territory? That is impossible. Arya lifted her chin. It is the only way to stop fear. The leader hesitated again, clearly shaken by her boldness. The guards exchanged uncertain looks. Finally, the leader sighed. We cannot authorize this. The council must decide. He looked at Ethan again, studying him with cold eyes. But he cannot enter our world unless he is under escort, the leader added. Arya stepped closer to Ethan, placing a hand on his arm. I will go with him, she said. Ethan didn't understand the words, but he understood the meaning in her eyes. She wanted him beside her. He nodded. The leader pressed a button, and the craft's engines shifted to a softer hum. He gestured for them to enter. Arya took Ethan's hand gently and guided him toward the craft. He followed with quiet courage, ready for whatever came next. Inside, the craft's walls glowed softly. The seats reshaped themselves to fit their forms. Ethan looked around in awe, touching nothing, his eyes full of wonder and caution. Arya sat beside him. For a moment, they shared silence. Then Ethan looked at her and pointed to her chest. Arya, he said softly. She smiled faintly. Then he pointed to himself. Ethan? Her heart warmed. She nodded. A voice came from the front. Prepare for travel. The craft rose smoothly and shot forward, leaving the mountains behind. Clouds rolled past the windows like waves of white and silver. Arya stared ahead, unsure what waited for them. Her people might accept Ethan, or they might react with fear, but she knew one thing with certainty. She would not leave him. Not after everything he had done. not after everything he had shown her. Her fear of humans had already broken apart, and what replaced it was something stronger: respect, trust, maybe even something deeper. As the craft descended toward her homeland, a land shining with towers, glowing bridges, and silver forests, Arya felt Ethan reach out. He gently took her hand. She looked at him, surprised. His expression was calm but filled with quiet courage. Whatever came next, they would face it together. The craft touched down on a wide landing platform. Her people gathered around, whispering and watching the human with tense suspicion. Arya stepped forward with Ethan at her side. She lifted her voice so everyone could hear. "Do not fear him," she said. "He saved me. He protected me. And humans are not what we believed." The whispers stopped. The crowd stared. The council members stepped forward, and the future of two worlds began to shift. Not because of war, not because of power, but because a girl who once feared humans chose to stand beside one who saved her from her own people and from her own fear.